All right, good morning, everyone. Happy Friday to you all. Let's take a look and see what's going on with Bitcoin today, what to expect, and also what to expect possibly over the weekend. When it comes to the daily candle here, we're getting below this 59,702, which isn't the best sign, but on a positive note, we have a good 10 hours to go, right? So I really want to see this candle flipped, or sorry, this support line flipped, resistance line flipped, this resistance line flipped. I basically want to see us get back and test 62,000 a day, ideally, okay? Um, the reason I say that is we are, in my opinion, getting close to a local bottom. I don't think it's going to be the bottom of the cycle, but it's going to be a local bottom, and when that gets hit, we're going to see, or we should see, a very violent reversal in the other direction. Because of all the liquidity that's been building up above, people chasing, thinking that they can just short and not have any consequences to it. So, um, I am expecting for at some point today, if we are going to turn around and have a chance more so of having how do I put it? Having a chance of maintaining the weekly 200, we have to flip today. Um, Saturday and Sunday, I mean, we always could potentially do that. It's a lot more lower probability that that will happen, though. Um, this would be the day that we would potentially flip since we basically have been dumping almost all week. Okay. So I am expecting for us to have somewhat of a decent bounce today. And we, like I mentioned in the Sin City Crypto Group, we could even potentially get back to where we're above this yellow line. But if it's going to happen, from a timing perspective, I would like it to see it happen today. If this does not happen, um, when we do get a bounce, if we get any sort of bounce from 57 area, it's going to be not very substantial. It'll be just kind of a small dead cat bounce like we have been seeing, and then we're going to continue a lot lower. This is going to basically guarantee that we're going to get a death cross, in my opinion. So I really want to see a violent move today from the bottom. Like, this is not violence yet to me. This is just, some basically testing different support areas, but this is not enough, in my opinion, to really get us back to where we need to be in the 60s. Okay. Um, that being said, I think that the bounce will be short-lived. Next week may offer more downside potential, but I just for this week alone, if we're gonna, like I said, maintain somewhat of a, you know, not a full follow through to the downside, if we're gonna maintain some sort of, um, what's the word I'm looking for? Uh, Basically consolidation or within a range, like an accumulation range, which we stepped out of this, of course, but I would like to see us get back up to above that 62 level. Okay. Looking at the 12-hour, kind of showing the same thing. We are getting some support off of the 58.6 line that I drew yesterday. Overnight, we did hit this 60,622, found resistance, and really couldn't get above it. That's fine. But you guys can see, when I draw these levels, like, they work, right? I mean, you guys can see that they do show resistance, they do show support. So these are levels that you guys can have on your charts that for the most part, I mean, they get respected. We know that 59,702 has been getting respected as a resistance line, right? So I know that, sometimes my chart looks like it's busy with all of these lines, but they're levels that get respected for the most part, okay? Um, Dropping down into the 4 hour, you can see here that we are getting somewhat of a decent wick to the downside from the downside back up. Just nothing extravagant yet. Nothing that would tell me that we're going to be extremely bullish yet today. Not the violence I want to see yet. So again, dropping into the 1 hour, using 58.6 as support. Unfortunately, now you have like a triple bottom here, so um, I'm expecting that to get railroaded sooner rather than later. especially because we didn't, if we were going to bounce off of this um, yesterday, like if this was a very strong support zone, this should have just snapped up. Like starting right here, this should have snapped and not come back down here. But we revisited it today. Okay, so late last night, this should have just snapped up, just kept going, 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 back up if this was our, weekly local bottom. But it doesn't look like that's the case. Um, at least from down here. So this doesn't scream strong support to me. Um, let's see, 15 minute, and then we'll get into liquidity. So 15 minute, getting rejected off of that 21 MA. Nothing, I don't see a real great setup yet this morning. We obviously started New York Open about 20 minutes ago, so nothing really yet. It's to be expected. It's a low volume Friday. But nothing, really that screams to me that I have a nice setup just yet. I will let you guys know in the group when I see that, but this is just kind of some choppy action to me right now. I mean, we're just kind of staying within 58,613 and 50, what is this, 59.7, 59,702, and we slightly tried to get above it last night, didn't, weren't able to follow through, and it's just been being used as resistance. So once we break out of this range, this will tell us more information as to where we might be going. Um, so anyways, guys, that's what I'm seeing in the charts without looking at liquidity. Still have these targets on, your chart. Like I'm still targeting 57.3 at the lowest for this week. We could potentially get to 57.8-ish area, I think was another one, if we kept the consolidation range in mind from 2024. So make sure to have 57.8 on your chart as well. I'm expecting the local bottom for the week to somewhere be in between this range. If we don't, if this does lose support right here, we do have to lose 58.6, which, like I said, we bounced off of it about 3 times. So not the best sign, but this is kind of next where I'm expecting for us to find some support here. All right, let's jump into liquidity now. So getting into liquidity, let's take a look at our daily. Can't do that. Let's see. Looking at liquidity, let me check off all of my boxes here. All right, so, not really the best news. I can increase this somewhat, maybe make it a little bit more since I'm zoomed out. Nope, that's not helpful at all. Oops, let me go backwards here. So this is my aggregation tool, by the way, where I group by basically in the millions. So this is like saying, starting at 10 million in Bitcoin orders here. So, it does still show that we're going to probably take out this 40 range right here, at least in the macro time frame before, we see probably a bigger bounce from the macro perspective. I wouldn't say necessarily that this is a bottom unless it aligns with time. So if we get here, maybe October, November period, there's a possibility that that's our bottom. But if we get here before then, I don't think that's promising. Um, in the more short term, I would probably say we target this first green area, so down to 54.7, which is going to be our value area low of the consolidation period. And then it even says that we can get to 53.810, which is taking out all of this green area right here. So in a more shorter term on the macro, maybe next month, the following month, we visit this area. But, like I said, I would like to see us ideally, timeline-wise, hit this, around October, November period. That would more so encourage that the bottom is that it would be the bottom on the macro scale. But if, like I said, if we get there before then, that's not a great sign. So let's go ahead and take a look at the 4-hour. And let me uncheck some of these. And let's adjust this. So the 4-hour shows us that, it kind of aligns with a possible bounce off the top of this here at 57, 58,000-ish. We can go possibly into the 56 range. So 56,834 I have on this chart. That is a possibility. So, um, if you are catching falling daggers, not financial advice, but I would probably say be protected below this 56,834 if you're going to try to catch, this area of liquidity here. Um, Now, as far as to the upside, you know, what I want to see today, guys, is some of this taken out, right? Like, I want to see us get back into this area, for the weekly close, if we have any chance of bouncing off of the weekly open, or sorry, the weekly 200 MA. So, I would like to see us get into 62, using it as support, and then, obviously getting more into the mid 62 range, chopping out maybe on Saturday and Sunday and closing there. So that is your bullish case. Your bearish case is that you're going to just keep falling. So, rounding these tops, right? Like we have been saying, round a top, and this will round over as well and then not come back. So that's going to be your bearish case scenario, and that's going to be max pain, where we lose that weekly 200 MA and we lose it strongly. More than likely, that will be used as resistance against us, and it's going to get pretty ugly for the time being. So I do want to see a decent move back up sooner rather than later. Going into our hourly, so it looks like, let me make sure my grouping is correct here. Yeah, we're at a 7, so that should be decent. I mean, again, I'm targeting this last liquidity pull down here. One very positive thing is that we have a lot of liquidity to the upside. I mean, this could be a very exciting July. It kind of makes me excited. So we could, even get back into 68,000 range, 70,000 range potentially if the opportunity arises. Um, for the first week of July, just so you guys know, I would like to see a decent dump so that we make the wick of the month. And I think I mentioned that before, and then for us to continue on up. So I like to project things from a time perspective. I'm more of a timing trader. I go based off of time a lot. So that's why I was saying, like, today I want to see the pump. First week of July I want to see a dump. Like, I kind of have a timeline perspective in my mind here. So that's why you hear a lot about time with me. Let's go ahead and finally dive into the 15, and we'll actually go into the 5 as well. So the 15-minute is showing kind of the same thing. We could possibly take out that 57 range. Looks like the green zone ends at 57.5, so it could definitely be front run to that 57.8, I would say. That would be, if you wanted to possibly get in on a high risk long, you could take the 57.8. Again, not financial advice, but do what you want with that info. That could provide a potential decent bounce back up if we get down there. So that's what I'm seeing on the 15. Your trend of indicator, which we'll go into more on the 5, it is currently showing a -2. For the hourly, both the 4-hour and the daily are stuck at a 0. So not too much to write home about there. But you can see how amazing it looks to the upside. I mean, tons of red liquidity at 68,000. There's a lot of people that are shorting, right? So this does give me a lot of promise that, or shows me a lot of promise that we could hopefully get back up here for today. In best case scenario, guys, honestly, like, and I'm seeing this now, like 58.6 could actually be used as a support for right now at least, and this could be our way back up to 62, thousand area. I mean, this golden cross could happen right here on the 5, and we don't come revisit it today. So that is going to be your best case scenario for the bulls. And as far as Kiyotaka goes, doesn't really, this is my order book, my free order book here, but it doesn't really scream that there's a lot of orders to the upside just yet. You can see there's a ton to the downside though, even, unfortunately getting into the 55 range and below that. So it's very hard to say right now. You know, I don't see us not taking out this sooner rather than later, unfortunately. There's just way too many orders down here. A lot of people are going long, and there's a lot of institutions buying down here, is what it looks like, or wanting to buy down here. So it really does portray the picture that we're going to come back down here and visit some of these areas before we get a bounce. At least even taking out the 57.8 area. Um, Anyways, guys, that is what I have for you this morning. Let me take one look at the simple map. So I believe I can refresh this here and I have it up. Just be mindful and wary no matter what direction that you choose. It is a low volume week and it's a low volume Friday on a low volume week. So your cumulative longs on the scalping time frames, your 5, your 15, your hourly, not hitting, even a million in orders until you get to about 58,360. So, these are all 100x, 50x, people leveraging here. And then, your shorts, you start getting into here. You don't really get into the millions until about 60,630. And then it just kind of goes up from there. So definitely shows that there's a lot more short volume on these smaller time frames. Yeah. So a lot more people going short that we can eat up, from a long potential. And then when it comes to the swing trades, then this is what makes it, why the bigger time frames are so difficult right now is because, as you can see here, like there's just nothing really around us until we hit, 58,000, and then we get into like 57.8. Look at that, $36.4 million, right, of longs right there. So it gives a really big incentive to at least take out this block right here, if not go a little bit lower, like 75.6 million, 119.9 million, Um, so there is a lot of potential right now to take out more of these longs than there is to, take out, come back up here, take out 6.84 million of shorts, 8.43 million of shorts. Like it's just not painting a good picture on the macro time frame. On the smaller time frames, sure it can happen because the 100x or 50xers, there's a lot more liquidity to the upside, but the bigger time frames, it's like it's really portraying the picture that this is juicy liquidity for the market makers to take out to the downside first before we even get a chance to. I mean, look at this, 300 million. That's like so it's worth it to go down first and for them to do that rather than go up, and build up this long or sorry, the short liquidity to the upside so we actually get bridges, right? So this is all juicy liquidity for them to take out here. Anyways, guys, that is what I have for you for right now. Hope you guys find this video informative. I will be posting a video later on this afternoon, so that will be coming. But in the meantime, have a great and safe trading day. Again, happy Friday, and I will talk to you all later.